Hi, it's Faye and Jeff from earlytrauma.com. We've been covering the trauma disrupted competencies. So far, you've had an introduction to the TDCs and the first one, the negative internal working model. Today, we're going to start developmental delays. So let's go back and review what a trauma disrupted competency is. Through our research and our many, many years of experience, we've identified 6 areas in which trauma disrupts a child's competencies, the maturation process. Last time it was the negative internal working model, where their internal beliefs were changed because of that trauma, creating this negative model belief system that they're working from. Today we're going to do developmental delays on how that early trauma is going to disrupt a child's development. Jeff, you want to tell us a little about that?
In the TDC of developmental delays, what the important things to understand is that learning is sequential. A lot of times you can't learn B until you've learned A, and so much of life is like that. As we've spoken before, you can't learn to stack blocks until you learn to knock blocks down.
Right.
And what trauma disrupted competency of developmental delays is when the learning of A is a little sketchy or not quite right, it's not quite mastered, then you can't really do B properly.
Right.
And then of course, life rolls on, and by the time you get to Z, you may not be able to do anything properly.
Yeah, we talk about holes in development.
Mm-hmm.
As a child's going through life, if they didn't master that stage or maturation level or that skill, then it's going to impact the next one
Mm-hmm.
that goes on. And with all the trauma disrupted competencies, these are so relationship dependent.
Mm-hmm.
It's within that early relationship that the trauma occurs and then disrupts. So let's look at all 6 of the TDCs and then use those as a means to examine behaviors and find ways to help our children heal. So back to today's developmental delay, the very first piece we want to cover is that connection with mom and how it impacts the child.
Those developmental
Yes.
milestones. When you think about playing blocks, I'm going to use this.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about playing blocks, before you can stack blocks, you have to have mastered the ability to, well, let's break it down further. Reach.
Yes.
You still have to have the ability to reach for a block.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then after you've learned mastered the ability to reach, then you've got to learn the ability of grabbing
Mm-hmm.
a block.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then once you've mastered grabbing a block, then you begin moving a block.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then after moving a block, then you learn to stack them, finally.
Yeah.
So even that simple stage of development, and you can track this in an infant when they learn to do it. Knocking them over, that's where it starts. They reach,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't grasp, but they can knock over, and they laugh and giggle.
Yeah.
But with each developmental stage there, and that each of those skills is required to build on until they get to the point where they can stack. And of course, once they can stack blocks, then the idea starts to they can imagine a structure
Mm-hmm.
that they want to build with those stacked blocks, and all of this is done one at a time. If a piece of that is not if an opportunity is not available in their environment, for instance, let's say there was nothing available for the child to reach for.
Right.
They just laid in a crib, and there was nothing there that they could reach for that outside their field of vision. So they never really learned to reach. Well, if they didn't learn to reach, then they probably didn't learn to grasp. If they didn't grasp, etc.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some of the homes that we've worked in and the inability really to put a child down on the floor, whether it's a massive amount of traffic in and out of that house or animals or bugs or dirt. There's so many reasons not to put a baby on the floor to play. Then where's the baby,
And we talked in the last video, the negative internal working model, how some of that learning actually occurs in the limbic brain before the frontal cortex even comes online. What actually happens is when that learning is not mastered,
Mm-hmm.
they continue to grow older. So
Yes.
eventually they're going to learn how to pick up something cognitively.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the same thing as having learned it limbically.
Yeah, experiential
Hmm.
pieces of these children's lives, that where they have those experiences in a environment that has a lot less fear.
Here's an example of the difference. If if I want to pick up a block, okay, with my cognitive brain, I have to think about it. I have to lean forward. I have to pick it up, and look, well, just that's it.